just the grade, good afternoon or good morning, depending where you find yourself. Lunchtime-ish, I think, for the stragglers. We will take the customary 1 or 2 minutes here as we wait for more of our colleagues to join to wrap up previous meetings and all that fun stuff. So do bear with us, and thanks for all of you for having made it here on time and having carved out this part of your day for us. I say for us, but I mean for you, for us being the community here. So Alex and I and Sam and Anne-Marie and our team, we definitely learn through these events, through the chats and questions. So we'll encourage that as much as ever through the session today, among the rest. And then hopefully, obviously, the goal being to equip you, to give you inspiration, if nothing more. So definitely hoping for some good takeaways on your end. And like always, again, use that chat. Don't be shy. If it's questions, if it's comments, if it's feedback, and you want to write to your account manager after the fact and say, hey, these guys, get them out of here, give them the hook. Um, all of this is welcome, right? Like we want to deliver what's most relevant, hard hitting, as we try to do.
And for those that already have Copilot, if there's any like features that are missing or any top prompts that you've been using internally, to try to make this as interactive as possible. This is the fourth in the series for us, so we've been talking about Copilot a lot.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the term Copilot fatigue has been said out loud, but I can tell you it's creeping in here. As much as exciting, as much as there's so much to learn. Um,
But I
too
can
much of
tell
the
you though
things
that
that
it feels a lot like jet lag, or if you've been traveling in a car all day. Whenever you use Copilot, like the way I've reorganized my work schedule, right? I have like an hour at the end of each day to kind of debrief with Copilot, and at the end of that hour, it's like there's the like just a weird type of exhaustion of always being on the top end of cognitive abilities, because since it removes all of that, like the easy repetitive, like taking your time to write those paragraphs and all that. Since you have the whole thing, you have to make like executive decisions over and over and over, and after a while it's like, woof, my brain, man.
see that it's true. Hey, that kind of, yeah, decision fatigue. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, that is absolutely a symptom. It's still great though. Still jump in. The water's still fine and still very much worth all of our time. But yeah, it is a different type of decision making instead of the minutia. It's really more in the big picture and more forward. That being said, oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it reminds me of my days of gaming. Whenever you have a very very long gaming session and then you close your eyes and you still see the game, so it's a lot like that with Copilot. Like I close my eyes and I see prompt answers and follow up prompts.
So we got some AI in here. Where's our legal team? Jeff, I don't know if we could do that. Yeah, I think it shouldn't be too big of a deal. Um, awesome. So again, thank you so much for everyone having taken the time to be with us. That being said, let's jump into what we're gonna look at. Oh yeah, these guys. Hey, I know them. This here's Alex. I don't know which side
Hello.
he is, but he is here with us. Partner program and incentives manager. All things partner center initiatives, incentives, ins and outs down the weirdest rabbit holes you ever did dream of. Alex is our guy or your guy. Myself was the PSM or product sales manager, so mainly around the enablement, sales forwardness. I do like numbers, and that's kind of my claim to fame here. Excuse me. And then Sam, not on camera with us, but definitely with us in the meeting here, and we'll be monitoring the chat. Sam's our licensing specialist, our security specialist as well. So any nitty gritty around any of the licensing, the how tos, and the weird stuff that common brains don't get, well, Sam is here to make sense of all that for us. Boom. So for today, so as we did mention, this is part of a series. So it is session 4 today, and my how time flies. So 1 a month has kind of been the track so far. Everything from understanding Copilot to tips around using it vaguely to security in the last session. And now, again, it's really a journey that we're trying to take you on here. And now we're starting to look a little bit more externally into how we can put this out there, how we can go forward with this, start to leverage it ourselves or increase our own efficiency around Copilot or with Copilot. So that's again, that's the topics for the day. So getting familiar, building an offer. So Alex and I kind of have two different approaches, and I think we could both see light in both of them, and I don't think either
Of
of us
course.
have a very strong stance as to what's the right one. But there's different ways, right? It's a journey. There's no one size fits all for how we're going to do this or how we'd suggest for you to go about doing this. So we'll share some conflicting or varying opinions, but all always looking forward. And then finally, some little tidbits around how you can lead that conversation and speak to the value of Copilot to your customers as brand new for all of us.
Mhm. And again, just to reiterate, like this is number 4 in a series. So I do encourage you, if you've missed the prior ones, to go on the Sherweb YouTube channel or through the Knowledge Network to find them. So the first one, introduction to what Gen AI is, what Copilot is, ChatGPT, all these things. The second one in January, how to make sure you're offering the right license, because there's lots and lots of different versions of Copilot out there. Last month we covered, deployments, security considerations, compliance considerations, especially when it comes to insider risk. We don't want those pesky employees to find data that they shouldn't have access to. So now all that's left is really the conversation around the Copilot, like how people are going to use it, how MSPs can build those offers around Copilot, and that's where those different schools of thought of what the partners can do come into play. But to reiterate, it really is just two ideas of how you can go about it, but there's probably an infinite amount of possibilities of how you can use this. It's a tool, right? So it's a lot like say a vehicle, an automobile. There is no right way to drive, like a perfect way to drive on the highway. We all have our own little style, our own quirks, things that we find agreeable driving. If you share a car with a significant other, and whenever you go into the car after they've been there, you'll notice there's a lot of settings that you need to change. So it's a lot like that with Copilot. It's a tool that you will want to customize yourself so that you will be able to get the most out of it. And cannot stress this enough. And I will repeat it over and over again. Until you get in the driver's seat for Copilot, you don't know Copilot. So my advice is buy Copilot, use Copilot, and then you will be able to sell Copilot.
Yeah,
End of
that's
webinar.
yeah, that's all right. We'll see you tomorrow, folks. Yeah, so we'll do that, and you will notice the car analogy surface itself once or twice as we go through the next little bit here. Last thing before we actually finally get started here will be there is one more session, and we'll tell you about it at the end as well. But there's one more part that we'll look at coming up. So the series isn't done yet. Then again, with any of the feedback that we gather, if there's things that and obviously, right, in 5 hours, we're not teaching everyone Copilot. It's just an impossibility, or not all of it. So what else are we missing? Like again, keep us honest. There's two guys who like feedback here. It's Alex and myself, among others, but um, and we want to be better. We want to deliver what matters, what's relevant. So again, share your feedback. You are all experts in the field here, so keep us honest. Let's keep putting out some good stuff. Good. So where it all begins, and it is getting familiar with Copilot. And again, different schools of thoughts, right? So there's a couple of different ideas we'll look at here. The first one will be by workflow. So if we want to socialize the idea of Copilot to a customer, to a colleague, to a friend, well, then by all means, we can look at it by workflow, right? So if we look at the effective meetings, as maybe I'll start here. If we think of summarizing a meeting, identifying next steps, I'm reading this. I could have said that as I do get to use it. Um, but getting insights from meetings, being more effective, being more present in meetings, well, absolutely, that is one easy thing that we can start to communicate. And I say easy again, Alex's point. I've got a chance to use it. So for me, it's more second nature. It's more comfortable. But do get familiar. Do start to leverage it, and you'll see to what extent it's a game changer when it comes to meetings.
Yeah. And that is really like the first kind of impact that you get from using Copilot. It's everything that you were used to doing manually, so to speak. Now you have that virtual assistant who can accomplish those tasks a lot faster for you. So that first conversation that you would have either internally with your teams or with a customer is about how much time can be saved versus what they currently do today. Even when it comes to content creation, writing a blog post, an article, a proposal, creating a PowerPoint presentation, using Copilot literally jumpstarts that effort. You get to be at 80% after 30 seconds of starting that project. So it really does help to save a lot of time, but that really is, again, just the first impact that it can have. And if it's the only aspect of your conversation with end customers or considerations internally, it may not be enough of a selling point. We all love saving time and all that, but whenever you're talking to customers and talking about their employees, it's like, well, I'm not going to pay my employee 38 hours a week. I'm still going to pay them 40 hours a week. So even though they saved 2 hours, I'm still paying for that. So there's a lot of kind of pushback or objections whenever you only lead with the time that could be saved.
And that efficiency gain is the other side of that, right? It's what more you can do with that split time. So again, if we just and again, we're just picking points here at random. Alex and I rehearsed this diligently, as you can all tell. But some of the things here, like creating powerful visuals. So this is one that is a work in progress. I'll say if I consider from Excel, at least
Mhm.
singularly here in Power BI, it's still great. But through Excel, at least there's some room for improvement there. It's on its way to the product we expected and we know it will be.
Yeah.
But just being able to have quick charts help me to visualize this data differently, help me to identify trends or outliers or tendencies, seasonalities, any of these factors. Well, it's going to up level what the user can do within Excel for the data analysis point here.
And for those who already have Copilot or already have customers that have Copilot and are getting some, kind of questions or concerns about certain features, one one place to go to, one very important resource would be the M365 roadmap. And in the argument, you would put in Copilot for search. So you'll be able to see all of the different aspects of Copilot. So Copilot for Excel, Copilot for PowerPoint, Copilot for Word, and the level of maturity for that service. So one thing that you would notice if you were to go to M365 Roadmap Copilot is that for Excel itself, it is currently still in preview. So it is not officially rolled out. That rollout will start in June. So if there's anything whenever you're working with Copilot in Excel that you get the reply, I can't do that yet, or I don't understand that yet, or I'm unable to do that yet, you may want to try exactly the same prompt a couple months from now and expect different results because these features are coming, the service is maturing, but it's very important to understand that not everything with Copilot is as good as those videos, but it will get there. And fortunately for us, everyone here has worked with Microsoft for at least some number of years. So we're kind of expecting that rollout for Microsoft of, but to be fair, it's a lot like the Mark Twain quote, right? Continuous improvement is better than delayed perfection. So if they waited until the whole product was absolutely perfect across all different workloads, it probably wouldn't come out until 2026, and then would be up to Gork 5.0 and Gemini, so they had to launch it, but it's very important to give feedback to Microsoft, to give feedback to Sherweb on anything that's going on, because this is when the development teams are really paying attention to that feedback to try to get things across. A couple of the feedback that partners have given me on my last meeting with Microsoft, I shared that feedback, and there were looks of surprise, like this was not something that they knew about Copilot, like some missing features, some kind of quality of life improvements that are lacking. So communicate with us, with Microsoft. Anytime you have those feedback icons in Copilot, you can help shape how Copilot will become better in the future.
Absolutely, absolutely. And maybe the last one in terms of the workflow again. So by specific task or even by app, if I were to say, will be in the email. And again, this is maybe one that's more accessible or dare I say more common, right? I'd imagine more of us are in emails than Excels or in terms of content creation. Like again, I think emails are pretty much a staple in the modern work. But again, the ability to summarize threads really quickly, to have near instantaneous replies that are tailored based on the conversation, um, really easy. So again, so you can look at this by individual application as one school of thought, right? And this is really the idea for today. It is just not to say we want to sit up here and brainstorm, but just think of it in different ways and maybe one will resonate you and your team a little bit more. So I like the idea of a per app. Are you presenting any content today? Well, yes, indeed. This is absolutely some content right now. If there's anything in particular you're looking for, though, do throw that back in the chat. Um, yeah, so either by app or we can look at, again, by function, right? So by role, by HR, by marketing, by IT. And we won't go too deep into the slide here. We will share out the content normally in the next week or so. So you can read through. With that, you will find a plethora of resources from Microsoft that are available. Customer scenarios being one in particular, where this type of insight or inspiration can be found. But again, I don't know if there's anything in particular you want to call out on this one here.
Yeah, no, just that these types of slides, especially when you're talking with customer owners, it's a good idea to have, as much assets and visuals with you as possible. So these types of slides, and that's going to be in the content that we're going to share after as well, do help to kind of present a kaleidoscope of different options for different people within the industry. And much like we are doing today, trying to inspire you, trying to find that right sentence that's going to convince you to finally give it a shot, this can help. Pay close attention to your customers' reactions whenever you're talking about different things that can be done with Copilot in those departments, because that's usually some sign of there's a pain point of long tedious tasks in that department and potentially some huge productivity gains by introducing Copilot into the mix.
Absolutely. Well said.
And then the last one,
Right.
right? The one that we like the most. Yes, for MSPs.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's the one, right? And again, like we understand very well we sit in all this and kind of just saying, hey, this is a great thing, and what the heck here is not necessarily the way forward. So it's really, hey, if there is one thing that we could say, it is to get into the car, so to speak, right? It's get behind the wheel, see really what it does. Alex, myself, Sam, and our respective teams here uh, can do demos all day, every day, and we could use it in a 50 different ways ourselves. But you seeing how it impacts your work is what's going to be the difference maker. It's when, again, the bells are really going to start to go off, or the dots are going to start to connect. Um, Even if it's not the full Copilot for 365, we understand what we have here up on the slide is mainly around that. But starting to use AI, period, right? If that's a chat GPT, for lack of a better option for you, or really Copilot for the web being the main and the right option, uh, do start to use it, practice prompting, start to see where it can fit in, how it can help you as part of your day. And again, this is where um, you'll take off, or you'll hit the gas.
Exactly. Like, let's say, for example, that you are a level 3 tech in a less than 20-person MSP. So that means that even though your primary job is level 3 tech, you probably wear a lot of hats and are called upon to do certain things that would be under miscellaneous or other connected tasks. And you have a huge workload, lots of things to do. Your boss comes in, tells you, hey, we just hired this new level 1 tech. You need to shadow him for the next couple of weeks. Well, you would normally take some time away from your busy work schedule. Some projects would have to be put on the back burner so that you spend some time with that level 1 tech. You spend some time, on the calls with them, seeing what their workflows are doing. But now with Copilot, you can be invited to all of their meetings. You don't show up. At the end of the week, you ask Copilot to summarize all of the meetings that had James invited you to it. See if there's some common questions, some insights, some weaknesses from the agent, things that they could improve upon, any questions that were left unanswered, if there's an FAQ that could be built from multiple level one text that you've done this process with, so that you can create a kind of training guide for those. The possibilities are literally endless, and it is that second level of impact. So the first one is the time saving, but the second one is to be able to accomplish tasks that you would have never dreamed of doing because of not the complexity of it, but the amount of time and resources in a linear fashion that you would have to do. Like, given this example, you would have had to gone through all of those meetings with those level one techs. So that's multiple weeks of being in those meetings with them. You would have had to take good notes on every single one of those meetings. You would have had to analyze every single transcript to see if there's any common themes or questions. You would have had to create that FAQ with a nice format that people would actually use. That's not something any level 3 tech and an MSP with a regular workload is able to do, even on the weekends, because they're already doing other things on the weekend related to work. So all of these things can really help an MSP get to that next level. So that's what they're talking about, like unleashing that creativity, productivity, upskilling your levels. Like in marketing, the thing that keeps coming up with MSPs, they don't like marketing. They don't know how to do marketing. They need some help with marketing. Well, now with Copilot, which is already helping you train your employees, summarize your meetings, write your emails, well, you can become a better marketer. You can ask it to look at your website and come up with slogans or multi-touch campaigns, or create assets and like a PowerPoint presentation from meeting notes that you had with your team internally about a project launch. It really is a way to get, again, your company to that next level if you would only pull that trigger and purchase it for yourself internally first. Like we have mentioned in the other webinars, important, it is annual right now, but that license can be matched to your existing term. So if you have a subscription for Business Premium that's getting renewed in October, well, you could purchase Copilot and only have the half year charge instead of the full year charge, so that can save some cost on that. You can reassign the license internally, so you could identify internally a few volunteers, and it's okay, you get it for 1 week, you get it for 1 week, you get it for 1 week, and then we see what kind of problems we have in our tenant, what kind of best practices we can implement, how we should roll it out. It really is, it starts with you purchasing it for yourself at least once to be able to kind of get that first person experience, that test driving of the vehicle, to see how you would drive it, how much time you would save, and how you're able to do new things that you couldn't do before. Lots of people, have toyed with the idea of getting good with Power Virtual Agents and creating chatbots for level one, text, but there was still a learning curve to do that. But if you purchase Copilot for meeting summary, for employee development, well, you also have that option to use to create customer chatbots with Copilot Studio on that. So it is really something that, if it wasn't built for MSPs, they had MSPs in mind for people who have to take on multiple roles within a small business to be very, versatile.
Yeah, and again, right? This is it. It's where you sit in the chair and the position or the task that you take on every day. Well, this is where you'll start to connect dots for you. Again, so those are a couple really relevant and really good examples.
Mhm.
Maybe a small kind of I'll weigh in a little bit here off topic for just a moment in terms of AI as a tool for MSPs. So we'll mention it a little bit later, but something like Lighthouse is a great way to be able to have AI built into your process. This is something that's available to Microsoft partners. We did mention it or discuss it briefly in the last webinar. We'll touch on it slightly a little bit later today. Another great resource for partners there in the AI sphere within Microsoft would be DMC. So this is a digital marketing campaign service or solution from Microsoft, where you can actually automate the marketing process. So it'll actually have like a drip campaign different collaterals on social, on emailing and whatnot, but you plug in your info and essentially that's a couple clicks and then it's on its way. Just the point of marketing, because you're right, MSPs traditionally, and maybe some of you here really do adore and you have a dedicated resource, but we meet with many where just kind of it's a necessary evil and they kind of do enough to say that they're doing it, but is there room for improvement? I think right across the board here, the answer would be yes. I think anyone who's kind of reached the peak, well, then you come talk to us, you tell us how, but the peak in this field is just it's not designed to be attainable, in my opinion. And then yeah, so then the other things we can look at here. So the sales, I think we touched on kind of briefly, what better meetings, using it to profile or to prospect. Hey, tell me more about this company. Tell me more about what solutions they offer. Tell me more about what verticals they serve. So that when you go to make your initial pitch or your 10th pitch, what have you, you'll be able to speak their language. You'll be able to speak to what's relevant and important to them. So really, for a prospecting tool, it's a great way to think of it. And then even things like in terms of developing resources, to Alex's point, in terms of developing an FAQ, there's Copilot for Stream coming out soon. You'll be able to recap training or other videos that you have within your tenant, and be able to, again, pull insights from that, draft an FAQ, build a PowerPoint presentation, and maybe give it another go. Or even having Copilot tell you where you could have done better on this training, and then having a presentation sent out that's adjusted.
And it will tell you. That's one thing that I've been doing, like asking Copilot, about my performance, if you will, on presentations, trainings, and things like that. And I even ask it to be kind with me in its comments, and it's polite, but it's very true. It's not it's not embellished. It's not like, oh no, you were great. It's, you did this, you stuttered there, you used this word there, you interrupted this person. It's like, oh man, was it okay, or should I just reorient my career?
Change
But
fields.
it's really good for that. And I did see a couple questions in the chat. Sam did answer them, but it is worth noting that there is no update yet on the licensing options. It is still only annual right now. There are no news on IUR licensing for Copilot. It is important, if you look at the new partner launch, partner core, or partner extended benefits, when you look at what is included in those offers, where it says Copilot, it's not M365 Copilot. So do not purchase this thinking that you're going to have M365 Copilot. It really is the same, the web search, the Bing Chat Enterprise Copilot that you have already included with your licensing. We do again hope, pray, expect Microsoft to give more options for this upcoming. As most of you probably know, saw the newsletter from Sherweb as far as CSP transfers for NC. It's coming now by June. This is something that even all the way up to December, whenever we would ask Microsoft about it, we have no plans at this time. We have no plans. NC is here to stay. Clients are going to be committed to one partner. So things change. Stay tuned. We'll try to stay on top of it for that. But specifically for IUR, and no change yet. Maybe the one it is available now for Business Basic and E1. That was asked. Oh, that's what you're going to say. Because that was asked in the last webinar. Why wasn't it available for E1? Well, Microsoft now has extended it. It's still the same logic whenever you have a licensed Business Basic, Business Standard, or E1 that does not include the EMS suite, that does not include conditional access, Azure AD Premium Plan 1, or things like that. You have a much more limited scope of restrictions that you can give to users within the tenant. So hopefully that's part of that conversation of assessment of the end customer tenant, if they're comfortable with pretty much being in a house with no doors, so that everyone can walk around and see what everybody else is doing all the time. For some people it's okay. Maybe your customer uses other platforms for data. Maybe they're using Dropbox. Maybe they're using Google Drive. Maybe all of the HR files, salary stuff, anything IP is on an air gap on-prem computer. So don't don't put extra obstacles. Don't be more worried about your customer data than your customer himself. So make sure you have that conversation with them about what is on SharePoint OneDrive. You can always use the reports as well from solutions designations to see if any users are actually using those workloads. If you see a zero for SharePoint OneDrive, well, there's probably no data on their SharePoint OneDrive, so you can, go ahead and launch Copilot for them right away. Let's keep going. We're going to run out of time before we run out of slides.
Yeah, I was just looking at them like, yeah, we have a few left to go here. Um, a few left to go. Yeah, so we will carry forward. Then we won't even bother doing a little segue here as we jump thoughts. Um, but yeah, really, really important part of using Copilot or using AI in general or incorporating it into our day, socializing it with our customers, or maybe more importantly for us on the call here today is, how do we go to market with all this? Well, it starts with being, I wouldn't even say proficient, just starting to use it, really practicing. But essentially, there are four kind of main components if we look at what might be considered as a perfect prompt. So we'll look at the goal. So what is the response? What do you want? Essentially, what are you asking for? The context will be really important. So that'll be around again, more detail. So why do you need this? Sorry, I'm just going to read the slide. Why do you need this and who's involved? Um, again, just to give more of a context. So is it for an internal sales training? Is it to present to your MSP friends? Is it for an executive presentation to your top brass? Well, giving this will help Copilot reply in the right context here. The source is really fun again. So here you can link to existing documents, to websites. So you can see, where do you want to pull this data from? Is it just from Reddit? Or do you want maybe something a little bit more controlled or tailored? And then finally, around the expectations. Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
I'll
No,
finish
just
that.
because you mentioned Reddit, and there is a subreddit for Microsoft 365 Copilot, and the most common posts are people asking questions about how to prompt, or they're using it and it's very underwhelming, and then it really, not all the time, because obviously there's still a work in progress, there's still lots of stuff to fix, but most of the time their concerns could be fixed with a proper prompt, by avoiding the bad things that you can do, which we'll cover a little bit, and adding more of these goal context source expectations. One thing, if any of you are old like me, and back in high school you had to take a journalism 101 class, you will see this as being familiar, because it really is the five W's and the H, the who, what, where, why, and how, that you want to have as much as possible in that prompt. Consider Copilot to be an assistant, again, someone that just graduated college, knows a whole bunch of stuff about law, finance, the world, doesn't know much about your company yet, unless until you've trained them, but wants to help, wants to do this for you. You want to give them as clear as instructions as possible. Any of you that have already had a personal assistant will probably be a fish in water. Just give them those
Or if you
details,
have
because
kids,
or kids. But kids, they don't necessarily always want to accomplish what you do. But Copilot really is very much willing to help, and sometimes just fixing the source, like instead of saying, oh, look at the stuff that you have access to, but instead saying, no, focus on that week, focus on those emails. It really will give you a much superior result to a generic type of prompt. It's, a lot of this, it talks about the art and science of prompts, and it really is, um, it really should fall under art, because it really is kind of like a canvas, and you have different paint colors that you can ask it to use, and the more information that you give, the better the resulting painting, the more details for that. But there is a limit. I don't know if you ever, you have kids, right? So if they've ever done painting and they mix a couple of colors, oh, you get a new color. But Eventually, if you mix too many colors, you just get brown. It's just you don't want.
Yeah,
So it's the same
some
thing
lovely
with
brown
Copilot.
artwork over there.
Yeah, you want to find that balance between giving too much information, conflicting information, and not enough information. So it's best to think of Copilot as being able to do a linear task. So one action, one goal from it. You can give it a huge data set that would take you hours, if not days, to go through to get to that one goal. But it has to be a one goal. You don't want to ask it philosophical questions, Kant versus Descartes versus, no, just just very straightforward type of request. You will be very impressed with the results that you get from that.
Yeah, and to that point there, it's again what we were saying earlier. It is jump in. It is get a feel for this. It is start to drive it. You'll find that sweet spot. Again, between too much and not enough instructions. The key, I guess, some of the things to try and avoid is to, in terms of hopping around, in terms of what you're speaking on or requesting of it. So, like a child, it may get confused if he has two different questions or two different tasks. That could be really interesting. And
Yeah,
then not being too casual, if we think of like the slang or any of that stuff. It does understand. I am casual by nature for those who know me. So it does catch it. I'm sure my prompts or some of my outputs or my responses from Copilot would be improved if I just kind of buttoned up a little bit. But again, these are just some of the high level tips. And then don't be vague, right? Again, it's be as clear, not don't give forth, don't give 30 sets of instructions in terms of the context or what have you, but um, don't just say, hey, build me a PowerPoint for Alex, right? Like, no, build me a PowerPoint for Alex with the goal based on these
mm,
documents, and this is the type of output I'd like to see. Well, then I'll have a lot more success.
yeah. And don't do things like create a top 10 list, and then at the end of the prompt, and give bullet points. No, it's conflicting.
Yeah, it's one or the other. It'll definitely, yeah, it'll help your outputs. Again, it's practice and play. That's really going to be the key. Um, this year, we wanted to just really, really quick. We're not going to spend much time, but the Copilot for the web, again, start somewhere. If you don't have Copilot for 365, it's on the budget for this fiscal or what have you. We understand. Do leverage the co-term, um, and do reach out. We can definitely try and brainstorm some other ideas. But in the meantime, work with what you have. There's this Copilot here is available for largely Microsoft Business and Enterprise licensing. And even in here, in terms of the output that you get back, you can actually have the conversation in a style that best suits you. So some examples, you can see the U part up here. So in 100 words or less, I need to explain the benefits of using Copilot from 365 to my MSP friends. Should speak to the benefits of using Copilot and how, right? So, and it will positively affect their days. Let's keep the response fairly casual, but it should have substance. Far from a perfect prompt, first to admit it, but it worked, right? So we got an answer here. This is the more creative style of writing. So we can see the hey there, watch the workday transform, give it a whirl, and some of these more playful or more fun types of replies. Again, you'll get the presentation, you'll read through it. But then if we look at a more balanced, so again, slightly playful, but still maybe a little bit more concise than we saw on the previous one. And this is the same prompt. Um, so again, the unleash product creativity, unlock productivity, up level skills. This is a mantra that's going to be haunting me for years and years to come, unfortunately. And then the more precise, you can see, right, like the amount of text that we're seeing there, the formatting. They do still have something in here like a game changer, so still a little bit more casual, as per my request. But again, very concise, super convenient. Give it a try. You won't create it. And Français and French would say point à la ligne, like this is it, to the point, right? So we don't need to drum on, but Copilot will adapt based on the controls and even Outlook as well. You can make it a poem if that's something that you feel um, your colleagues or partners would appreciate. Absolutely and entirely an option there. Nice. And then this one here is again just some more inspiration. Just some different ideas. If we look at it through some of the apps, so Loop or Bing Chat. So again, those create a set of questions, a summarize, create a project plan, add slides, create proposal, create a speech. These are all things that, like, personally, I've had a chance to play with and leverage. What I saw just recently was build me. So again, back to that prospecting. Uh, Build me a PowerPoint on Alex Laflamme of Sherweb. Scary stuff, but it'll tell me some of the more recent things that you've done, some of the links from your bio in LinkedIn, presumably is where
Mhm.
I did on myself when I'm a real winner like that. And I saw like some stuff, and it was often from my LinkedIn. But this is an instant prospecting. This is all the sales navigator. Not all of it, obviously, but there's layers built within all the apps, and just how you use them is the magic there.
And I would say that, as far as magic is concerned, that the last one that create the proposal from different sources put together, I think is the one that, gives the biggest kind of wow factor. So you can link in your prompt a PowerPoint, a document, a Teams meeting summary, and ask it, to do magic, right? Create a proposal based on that presentation, this meeting, and this email chain from the customer. So it takes all of that into account and creates those things. Again, one thing that's once you get used to Copilot, it becomes a second nature. But whenever I first started using Copilot, I didn't have that reflex, which is you don't have to accept the first response. You don't have to automatically say, "Oh, this is the result for my prompt, so I'm going to use this. I'm going to work with this." It's like, no, if you like it, copy it, keep it as that, but ask it to regenerate, just to kind of see, if it mix it up. If the magic eight ball will give you a different answer on that, and you will find some insights, some relationships, some patterns on, what did my, the 10 different emails that I received that had the subject matter, support request, was there any common themes in those? Uh, Use the presentation that we had for the goals for next year to create an action plan to reduce the number of tickets that are coming in. Again, just I get very excited because it's the possibilities are endless. But I think that part itself is something that we weren't used to doing before. A lot of the other asks are like, they will save you time. You'll get to that information a lot faster. But that aspect, that creating that proposal from different sources of documents, and it could be, a statement of work, an FAQ, doesn't have to be a proposal, but it is very powerful and it is very fun to have. How many of you had to create an invoice for the first time as an MSP and went on Google invoice templates and then a couple of sites trying to sell you something to get those templates? Now with Copilot, you can create the exact type of document that your customer base is expecting from you. Is it a case study? Is it a formal proposal? Is it a request for information? Are you talking to attorneys that like the legalese type of answer? Are you drafting a contract and you want to include those clauses at the end that you always see that seems to absolve anyone of any responsibility? It's there to help you.
Yeah, there's so much to do. Again, so just kind of a high level inspiration for more ideas and such. So definitely do take a look at Copilot Lab. You'll find you can filter by app, you can filter by task or objective, and it'll actually give you some starter prompts, right? So nothing
Mhm.
revolutionary in my mind, but if it's your first time seeing it, if you don't know how to conversate around this with a customer, well, then go there for some inspiration as you start to use it yourselves. Again, lean on that to get some inspiration just to get started. And then you'll play with it and you'll refine in the way that you go about it. But starting somewhere, and again, Copilot Lab is a great starting point
Yeah. And
many
don't
of
just
this. We
plan
only
to
have 10
use
minutes.
don't just plan to use Copilot Lab. Do it. Just go there. That Shia LaBeouf meme. Do it. Go to Copilot Lab. Look at the different options. There are things that you don't know what you don't know. You would have never thought of this to be a prompt. It seems very simple, but it will change the way you work.
Awesome. So we have a lot left to do. So we're going to rapid fire a little bit through the rest of the tier just so we can finish vaguely on time. Schools of thought. So I'll jump back here. So the Copilot for 365 is really the business opportunity. there are different ways to go about this for an MSP or for a partner like yourself, an advisor, what have you. A consultant, so we'll go through kind of two different ways to go about it. So one is a three-step, what we're seeing here on the screen, simplified, right? We understand there is much more that could be done in an ultimately perfect world. There's also maybe potentially less that could be done in a less tailored or a less kind of manicured world. So the three main steps here in terms of getting ready, um, or we'll start rather with getting customers AI ready. So that means understanding where they are. Are they in the cloud? Are they not? There is an assessment tool that's available from Microsoft that'll definitely help in that regard. Just help you get understanding of where they are. Security assessment as well. So can anyone log in from anywhere? Is that something that's of particular concern to this customer or not? But this security assessment again will help you to understand a little bit better as to where they are and where you're headed. And then using some of the tools that are available from Microsoft just to drum up a little bit more of that interest. Hey, what is this thing everyone's clamoring about called Copilot for 365? Well, you can definitely leverage something like a CSP briefing. In a nutshell, it's a 90-minute one-to-many training that you can offer to your customers, so to a group of your customers. And Microsoft will pay, um, I'd say handsomely for 90 minutes of work. So 90-minute presentation to that base. Microsoft will then reimburse you, and again, probably more than the cost of the time involved there, virtual or in person. Do reach out. We'll definitely look at the details of that with you and help you get set up. Super lucrative way to go about getting the message out there. If we look at the sell and deploy, so that kind of phase two here, then we're looking at the demos, use cases again. How do you go about conversating it? And again, speaking from experience, is going to be a good part of the success here. There are pilot programs. So the pilot program, more or less, but do let them try the Copilot for the web. I think is kind of the greatest starting point here. And then on the back end of all this, right? So are they ready? We're going to get them ready at stage one. We're going to sell it, deploy it, ensure some adoption, or at least a proof of concept, a pilot group, what have you. And then finally, it's the adoption, so center of excellence. This internally was a game changer for me. I've been using Copilot some time by myself. I guess we had a few of us had it here internally, but it wasn't until we had kind of a once a month or once every few weeks sit down virtual meeting, of course, where we just start sharing ideas and hey, I use it for this and I use it for that. Where I was like, oh wow, I didn't even think of that. And so having this kind of internal network is really powerful. Something that we're looking at putting together internally here as well. So don't be surprised for those of you in attendance if you see an invite of a once every 2 months is probably the cadence of just hey, what have you found lately? What are your favorite prompts? What are the least favorite things? We'll use that both as a community for sharing knowledge as well as a feedback form to Microsoft to help get their product to where we all feel and would like to see it be. And last but not least, will just be around the monitoring. So there is a Copilot dashboard. You actually see who's using it to what extent and which apps, even a certain level of what prompts are being used. And again, that can be used both for monitoring as well as here's what to do and here's what not to do as you roll this out to the rest of your team.
Yeah, and just for my end for that last one, again the different schools of thought. So for the other slide, if you want to just go back for a brief second. Yeah. Different partners have different strengths. Some partners would focus on those data and identity governance, security. You may want to tackle customers that aren't ready at all. And there's lots of business opportunities, professional services to get those assessments, to get those environments ready. If that's not your bag, if that's not your strength, you may want to look for customers that have already done an assessment of their tenant, or they're not, using any type of sensitive data on their tenant, and just go straight to selling Copilot, talking about the wonders of Copilot. Again, like setting up a pilot program, identifying, champions within departments, people that can kind of evangelize the adoption, and then offering training sessions. And then finally, for people that have already Copilot, but they want to get more out of their investment, there are some partners that do, trainings and monitoring and, post-sales types of things. So You don't have to do the whole thing around Copilot. You can choose which aspect of that customer journey you want to jump into. That's one way to go about it. And then the other slide that you're up to, you can also have a very kind of granular approach and look at the different, kind of steps to prepare. Like first, to talk about a little bit like we did with the series for these webinars, right? First, the introduction as to why would they even consider wanting to introduce AI in their workday. Then afterwards, how the environment is ready. So you want to make sure that if you use this customer journey type of approach, that you have the people, resources, and expertise every step of the way. And if not, then perhaps that first method would be best for you to start with.
Yeah. And again, there's different ways. It's like Alex's point there, right? It's the different schools of thoughts. You want to put kind of different ideas on how to could potentially go about it. We're not naive here to say these are the two ways because Sherweb said so. It is really there are hundreds of ways to go about it, and you'll find the one that fits into your way to go about it. But again, we'll share this out. Alex and myself are super happy to jump on calls to talk about any of this, which is a particular stage or facet that you're not quite sure, you don't know how to approach. Our sales team is also super sharp, especially on the business side of things. So again, do leverage us as an extended member of your team, and we'll dive into all that into detail. When we look at the AI, again, I kind of touched on the tools a little bit earlier. So within M365 Lighthouse, which has a brand new logo, because I know everyone tuned in just to find that out, uh, you can unlock Copilot specific opportunities as one of the opportunity types that are available there. You can see where customers help to get them AI ready, and then finally anything to do with renewals will
Yeah.
also be visible in there.
Yeah, and especially that third point, the renewals. There's an old saying, right? You want to strike the iron while it's hot. Uh, the renewal is a conversation that you want to have with your customer anyway. They should expect you to have that conversation with them. So it's a great time to kind of assess what they feel about AI. Are they thinking about Copilot, and what could be used as an upgrade? Right sizing for end customers, and especially with the extra availability of Business Basic and E1 for Copilot, how those play into that. But since you're going to have that conversation anyway with those customers about the renewal, talk about Copilot. There's so much information out there about AI, and NVIDIA coming out just yesterday saying we're years away from AGI. That new chip that they have with 2 billion transistors. It's scary for customers, so they tune out. They just kind of all think of it as ChatGPT. So they may not know that Microsoft has an enterprise grade service that they can use internally. I was working with one partner, and they had a customer that had a very stringent AI policy to use tools, and the spirit of that policy is, a knee-jerk reaction. We don't want our data to be on the web. So anyone that wants to use any of those AI tools, use it for personal things, use it for non sensitive information, nothing about internal. And then it's like, well, but with Microsoft 365 Copilot, as you saw, even with the slides that you had showing your little example, you had that little shield with the check mark saying, your commercial data is protected. So it does not share it. It's not liable for those same type of Achilles heels that other AI services would have. So
Absolutely.
don't have both sides of the conversation for your customer. You don't know where they are on their journey for that. Use renewals as that moment to start that conversation. You will be probably happily surprised with the type of responses that they have for this.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of you are getting inbound to a certain extent around Copilot. So yeah, uh, again, duly leverage that touch point you have with them. In the last couple of minutes here, and I don't know how we're going to try and squeeze this in 4 minutes here, so I'll go
I'm not
quick
going to
enough,
talk,
and I'll let you
so
jump
go ahead.
in. Yeah, you'll jump in maybe not too long here, but we will. Yeah, we'll focus a little bit here. So it's going to be Some tidbits, again, we didn't make an exhaustive list. I think you all have your ways of going about it. You're all successful in what you do and how you go about it. So far be it for us to reinvent the wheel. But some little things, right? So speaking from experience, what do you actually do? What can you actually show them as you're sitting with them on this proverbial round table of, okay, here's what AI can do. Well, how about I show you a little bit of how I use it, and from that they'll gain inspiration, jump into Copilot Lab for more ideas, and then Microsoft does have a ton of collateral, which we'll send out following this presentation. We'll send out some of it because there's so much, but you can leverage that as well to guide those conversations. Defining success. This is like I think the one of the bigger things, in my opinion. If you think, and then using that car example here, if you buy a car expecting it to take you to the moon, you will be utterly disappointed. If you understand the car will take you from city A to city B or country A to country B, landmass and all this here, well, then you will be pleasantly surprised and you'll be, that's exactly what I expected. And look how fast I can get there and all the stuff I can do. So defining success, again, helping to mitigate that Excel not being fully baked or fully rolled out yet. This is something to get ahead of. Like, don't let them try Excel, be underwhelmed, and then say, take this thing away. But help them stay ahead again, learn and learn for them and be that advisor for them. Explain the benefits. I'll show you just really something really quickly on the next slide. So I won't get into that, but how much time are you saving? What does that equate to in terms of dollars? Largely. The deployment plans is going to be a phased deployment to which teams. How are we going to ensure the security, ensure our sites aren't widely shared? But having this in mind, and again, you having done this, you'll be able to detail or to have an outline of your project plan, your deployment plan, and you'll be able to speak from experience. Your pricing will make sense because it's not just kind of, well, I have to buffer 2x because, but rather this is what it actually took me in terms of time. You had your buffer as usual, but you'll be in the realm of reasonable. And then finally, how do you help them adopt the tool? How do you help them leverage it better? Maybe this is going to be quarterly cadences, quarterly AI check-ins, best practices, an ebook you put out through some automated marketing campaign that Copilot can probably help you with by all means, but stay there. This is a journey. It's not a one-time license and I'll see you next year for renewals, let's say, but this is really an evolution and this is going to be crucial to that renewal in the next phase or next cycle. But again, some of the conversation points there.
And the only other thing I would say on those time that's saved, right? It's not every hour is equally productive, and the time that was saved was done with surveys, the early adopters and all that. So it's an average. A lot of people were showing more than that, like 10 hours a month and things like that. But in all cases, the time that was saved was time doing non-money generating tasks that are very tedious, repetitive. The word that Microsoft had used initially was a drudgery, taking the drudgery out of work. So not only it will make your employees more productive, but it will make them happier because they will be spending less time doing those boring, tedious, non-money generating type of tasks. So that's more than just the time saved. It's quality time earned for them to devote more time to, if they're a salesperson, to selling, if they're in customer support, supporting customers, and so
So
forth and so on.
yeah, no, super good. Again, so we'll leave you with some of this you can read through, but yeah, it's be more productive. Was it worth it? The effective meetings and so on. Again, apologies for the timing here today. Key takeaways, just really wrapping it up super duper quick, and thank you again for all making the time here. Buy it, to try it. This is really going to be the key in your Copilot offer development in your Copilot practice, because this really is a whole new facet to your business. Develop your own offer, understand what that means, and then build on it, deliver. And this is what's going to earn you renewals. Again, going forward, Copilot
Mhm.
and AI is the future of work. So stay in tune, stay close to your customers, and with that business advisor mindset of really not just here's the right license you need for this is the problem, here's the solution, but keep brainstorming with them, keep brainstorming with us. Let's stay inspired together. And what does this mean for our customers, our end customers at the end of the day, long term here. This is where the strong will will make it all the way through. Length, so you'll see some of it here. So prompt guides, Copilot Lab is a really great one. The customer scenarios is a pitch deck. There's also an inspiration hub, so really different ideas of how Copilot can be leveraged. And where to see, not necessarily us, but where to see Sherweb for what concerns Copilot coming up. So we do have the webinar next month. This is the Copilot family. Here we're going to be talking about Azure Studio, or Copilot Studio, rather. We'll be looking at Security Copilot, hopefully, as long as we can get a little bit more meat or more juice to talk about. Um, and yeah, some Azure components are going to be inserted in there as well. Potentially nerdy, we'll see. Do we watch the series? Lots of good content, as per Alex and I, who are not biased whatsoever. And then finally, some in-person events, a 2-day
Mhm.
full boot camps we're running in Montreal. So we're really tight on that one. But for Philadelphia and for Hollywood, Florida, do come join us. There's still some space available there. And Keith, stay tuned. We always put out some good stuff, whether it be through our blog, Knowledge Network, and a guide, among other things, en route.
And because the question that popped up was pertinent to the slide that you were on, if you want to know why there's different pricing for Copilot, rewatch webinar number 2 that we had on this, where it dispels, the misinformation about which Copilot for $20, Copilot for $30, what's available, what does what's available for which. This one is really focused on making sure you know which Copilot you need to talk to your customers with.
Exactly. Awesome. And that's it. Yeah. So just more resources. I say just more. They're all relevant. We didn't kind of just grab every link we could see from Microsoft that says Copilot in it, because we still want to be friends with you all. So these are really a more curated list that we put out here. Do refer to them. Do reach out to us in the meantime. Alex, Sam, myself, your account managers who are super knowledgeable and obviously integral parts to what we do, so without saying. That goes without saying. If you're not yet a Sherweb partner and you somehow stumbled upon this video, or you're just scouring the depths of YouTube for more Copilot content to consume, do join up. So we are Sherweb. We are a value-added CSP offering solutions right across the space, from security, a great Azure practice, Dynamics, and modern work, because I'm very biased on the Microsoft team here. But some really great partners, namely SentinelOne, Veeam, Trend Micro, and on and on. So we are more than a marketplace. It comes with pre-sales, it comes with support, it comes with a business partner in your AM or account manager, account executive, our biz dev team are also phenomenal. But again, we are a partner first organization. We don't push products. We build partnerships is really the way we like to go about it. As per James, because I don't say that the way that I should say it, but the premise is there is it's you first. Whoa, really sorry for borrowing the extra 5 minutes of your time. Really appreciative for those who stuck around. Those who are watching this at a later date on YouTube or elsewhere, thank you all for being a part of this. Copilot will be a really good thing for all of us. It starts with just getting in and going for a test drive here. So we invite you all to do so and reach out if you have any speed bumps along the way.
There you go. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all so much. Have a great one.